Okay, hello and welcome to More Than a Game listeners. Colby and I are back to talk A-League. We were trying to talk A-League yesterday with Damo, but yeah, life gets in the way sometimes, doesn't it? Colby, welcome to the pod, mate.
Mate, happy to be here. Late call up off the bench. Always happy to be in the squad. So yeah, ready to go.
Here we go, shall we? All right, well, mate. It was a pretty wild weekend of A League. It felt like a real return to form for the A League after there was some good football last weekend and midweek, and some not so good football. But I tell you what, the football that was served up on Saturday, both games were an absolute treat. I know there was one game in particular that you enjoyed, but we're going to cover that second, mate. We're gonna cover off on the Wellingong Fire Chickens first. Or what do you prefer, Wellingong or Wellington?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe Wellingong. I think Wellingong does it for me.
Wellington almost reminds me a little bit of Joelinton. Like,
you mean Wallington?
Yeah. Oh shit, we're ringing a lot out of that one, aren't we? But all right. This was a game that I was excited to see because I hadn't seen Sydney FC play yet. And Wellington obviously we're coming into to this week with some good form on the back of last season, and we're sort of thinking, well, how's this all going to play out? But Sydney were also missing a couple of key players as well, and so you had Callum Neuenhoff, him stepping into the breach as well. And yeah, what a debut for him on minutes. Stepped up and absolutely pinged one top corner. Not many people are going to be saving them.
Yeah, it was bloody, like you'd be happy with that for your debut goal in the A-League, wouldn't you? Absolute top bins.
Yeah, and although if there's one thing we should mention about this game was before it even started, which was Colby, did you catch the pre-game for this?
No, I didn't catch the pre-game because I was watching on the MyFootball app, and I think are they pre-games? I don't know. I've been trying to watch them, but I haven't caught any of them. So I think they must be a Fox-only thing, and they're cut off all of the other subscription services. So I haven't had the benefit of those.
So on the MyFootball app, does it just start when the game starts? Like literally, the ref blows the whistle.
I'm logging in at like 2 minutes to kick off, and it still says like the match will start shortly. So I'm just yeah, no good.
I think it was me on social media recently that was gassing up the MyFootball app, saying how great a value is. But I scratched the surface a little bit more and actually discovered it's not that good. So I haven't backtracked and said, oh yeah, everyone, it's actually shit. But I feel like I probably do owe that to some people, some of their followers.
There's no edit tweet function. You can't go back. It's out there now.
Oh no, but look, mate, there was one thing that did happen pre-match, and look, I tell you what, you didn't really miss out on something particularly spectacular. But there seemed to be this fire alarm going off at Wynn Stadium in Wollongong, and it pretty much just rang and rang and rang, and nobody moved.
I heard that. That was still going at kickoff.
So because that was ringing and ringing and no one was responding to it, at one point I actually turned down the volume on the TV here and thought, hang on, is that here? Not actually on the TV. But look, I'm sure I wasn't the only person that did that. And there were plenty of people on social media as well that were looking at that going, well, why is nobody moving? There's meant to be a fire there. So
they should keep it, I think.
Just have that as well.
Don't the Jets have like a siren or something when they come out, and the Mac Bulls have got their bells. So I mean, why can't the Knicks have a fire alarm at Wynn Stadium?
Well, actually, now that I think about it, it actually would make sense if there's like a fire chicken that's flying overhead and setting off all the fire alarms. That it just makes sense, right? But all right, back to the football though. This was a pretty entertaining game. Like I said, we had that peach of a goal from Neumanhoff on debut, and then in true A-League areas we had Wellington equalise, but no one saw it because the telecast failed. So I feel like every week we talk about peak A-League, but this is just another moment to add to a long list of moments where you're just scratching your head going, oh geez, this league.
I think peak A League is this game as a whole, right? Like you had the fire alarm going inexplicably at the start. You had a beautiful goal by Neuenhoff, and then you had a ghost goal from
Mhm.
my boy Murta, and all together you just get this product, which is the best league in the world. So
Yeah, and like even the ghost goal, they finally did show some footage of that. Can you still hear me?
yeah,
So they finally showed some footage of the ghost goal, but it just kind of everyone was very underwhelming with like even Speedy, who's normally very excitable, was saying how it's just a scuffed tap in at the far post, and then it was like, what do you mean? Why is Speedy not excited about this? Maybe he didn't want to draw too much attention to the fact that Fox had fucked up.
well, he commentated it live, didn't he? He seemed excited because the pictures cut out, but then I could still hear the commentary, and Speedy seemed pretty excited about it in real time. So I don't know what he's on about.
Well, maybe that's it. Maybe because he saw it in real time. Then when he saw the replay of it, he was like, "Yeah, I overreacted a little bit there. It actually wasn't that good."
Can't take back the commentary, Speedy.
Yeah, that shit's on the record, right? But look, if that goal was pretty average, Bratton's winner, that was another worldie as well. Which I feel like there are only average goals and absolute worldies in the A League. I feel like, and there was another one in the game after this as well. But I mean, Bratton's free kick, wowee, that was just another absolute peach. That just thinking like, where are these seemingly MPL quality players pulling this shit from?
I know. I mean, it's great. This is just shaping up to be such a great season already from what we've seen. We've got all of these young kids, just like we thought we would, but balanced out with like some good quality looking foreigners coming in as well. They look to have struck the balance this season, and I'm bloody excited. And here we are, only at round 2.
Yeah, and you mentioned about quality foreigners. Bobo is returning back to Sydney FC. I think that was going to be their big New Year's Eve announcement that ended up getting railroaded by the APL announcement. What do you make of Bobo returning to Sydney FC? You think it's a good move for the player, good move for the club?
I don't mind it. I think it is a good move for the club, a fan favourite. He's got a bunch of records in the A League. It was good for the league. It was proven first time around. I know he's sort of dropped off in the league since, but if he can come in and be a foil for Bahagia off the bench or something like that, even if he can, like, I don't think we're really expecting him to score 20 plus goals, this season or a season if he stays longer. But I think if he can get 10 goals, grab himself a couple of assists, and just be a good foil for Bahagia, I think job done from Sydney.
It's a good shout, I think, and I think Bahagia he can be the biggest winner, and also be the biggest loser out of this as well. Because I mean, like a player like him, he's not the kind of player that's going to sort of run the channels. There's a bit more guile to his game, but you do wonder if maybe he can pass on some of his knowledge and experience onto Bahagia. But I guess how much can players actually do that in sort of 6 to 12 months? But yeah, anyway. Or mate, anything else you want to talk about from this game?
No, I mean, other than just it was a really great game. I think this is one of the best, one of the fixtures that you can sort of bank on, especially last year, and I think it will be this season as well. You can just bank on it being a good game, given the Ufuk Talay Sydney blueprint that's sort of going on at the Knicks. Those style, like the Sydney v Sydney or Sydney v Sydney Light, they just match up so well, and it just always produces really good quality football.
Even though Wellington lost, I thought they were really good value, and they were probably pretty disappointed they didn't get a point out of it.
Yeah, they deserve the point, but yeah, great game, and look forward to seeing this fixture in the reverse.
Alrighty, moving on to Melbourne Victory versus Brisbane. This is a game that you were at, Colby, and if there was one thing that immediately stood out for this, it was that there were fans there, and two, that it seemed like there was a great atmosphere at this game too. Mate, talk us through it. How was it?
This was a cracking atmosphere. This was like almost back to the Melbourne Victory crowds of old. I mean, they had. It was only like 8,000 or 9,000, I think, in the end, but it felt like more. It felt like 15,000 there at Amy Park. They had both ends of the active going. and they were really loud until Brisbane scored. But they were, I mean, it was a cracking atmosphere, and the active up one end had a tifo for Ben Diaz, who I think was one of the capos of the North Terrace, and I thought that was a really nice touch. It was it was like quite a good tifo, and as Stand By Me was playing, the sort of Melbourne Victory staff, like the club, actually brought out a huge wreath of flowers and laid it at the foot of the active supporters, and I just think good club, good fans. Well, I mean, query, but good at singing and creating an atmosphere. Fans, great day all around. And let's just talk about the result.
Mate, but before we move on, that reference to Ben Diaz and how that was all handled, that was actually going to be my moment of the week before we had a pretty much a Premier League only start to the pod. But I thought it was really well handled, and obviously good for a club and their fans to be able to have sort of that collective moment of mourning together, because ultimately clubs, when they sort of mature a little bit in the A League, they become communities, and we really saw, I guess, some collective grief there, which they were able to display, which I thought that was a really nice touch. And I'm sure all of the Victory members and fans that knew Ben would have been happy to have done that in the way that they did. So, but moving back to the match itself, so you mentioned about how there was only sort of 9,000 there. That's relative though, right? Like after, I think we've seen Premier League games where there's been 2,000 people at a game, and you recognise the fans and sort of the organic nature of their response to moments in the match, and just the fact that it's a crowd there rather than just a loop track of the same sort of 3 or 4 songs. But it felt really different, and it felt really alive, as opposed to just some of the matches that we've seen where there's been sort of piped in crowd noise. It was just awesome to see. I really appreciate it. And I can't imagine how good it would have been being at that game after so many months of no crowds and no football live as well.
Yeah, I know. I very nearly didn't go to this game as well, because I thought I misread the COVID restrictions, and I thought they were asking people to wear masks while at your seats, and I just thought, like I would do it, but I think that would just spoil the experience, because you sort of want to be singing and sort of stuff the whole time. Thankfully it was just moving around the stadium, and I think that they handled the COVID practices really well there at Amy Park. People were like doing staggered entry through particular gates, and everyone like was 100% mask observant when people were moving throughout the stadiums and things like that. And there was distancing at the seats and stuff, maybe not in the Victory Active and things like that, but I'll tell you what, in the away bay there was distancing. So no, it was all very well done.
If there's one thing that sort of does play to Melbourne's strengths at the moment as a city, it's that everyone's pretty okay with mask compliance after like 6 to 12, or what are we, at least 6 months of compulsory masks. So it's not a new thing for Melbourneites anymore. But mate, onto the football though. I think Victory probably looked like the side more likely to take the lead early on, but it was actually the Raw who scored first. And this was actually a bit of a surprise, because I thought it was offside, and I think everyone thought it was offside. And then VAR said, no, it's not offside.
We all thought it was offside live as well. We still celebrated the goal, but then everyone, like the Victory, like all of the stadium just turned back, and they were laughing at us as it got flagged for offside, and we were thinking, oh yeah, that's probably right too. But then on the replay, it was just very narrowly onside. But yeah, talk about against the run of play goal, and Raw, aren't particularly known for being super clinical, but I think they only had one other chance before this, when Scotty Mack, in typical Scotty Mack styles, fluffed a shot. And so then to get this one on the second chance, that was great for the Raw. But I mean, that whole first half was just backs against the wall. The Victory were just putting in wave after wave of attack. Some of them the Raw got lucky, and yeah, some of them it was just great defending by the Raw. But that rode our luck in the first half, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I guess all of that pressure really culminated in Callum McManaman's goal, Steve's cousin, for the Victory's opening goal in 24 minutes, which, I mean, If Sydney were trying to put some good goals on the board early on, this game, wow, that McManaman goal was an absolute peach.
Yeah, I mean, I think it hit the side netting as well. It just like curled right into the side. So I mean, but I mean, they only ended up getting that goal because Ramat Akbari fell over as well. But I mean, he had to do the rest with it. But like, if Akbari doesn't fall over there, then it's a clean sheet for the Raw. And like, I mean, the Victory definitely deserved that goal, if not another one or two. I could have seen this game being having a lot more goals than what it did.
Yeah, and I mean, at half time, you thought, oh, this is obviously it was 1-1 at half time on the scoreboard, but it felt like Victory had been the better side, and it was a very different Victory side and a very different Raw side that came out in the second half, and we saw Raw just pressing a little bit higher up the field, and Victory just they looked like they had the game won mentally, and they just came out a very different side. And to the Raw's credit, I thought they were a very much improved side in that second half, and they were rewarded with two more goals. One for Macaulay Gillespie, tidy header from a corner, and then Dylan Wenzel-Hall's goal just to seal things up. Mate, talk us through that one because I know you'll want to.
That was a lovely goal. That was J-Mac light, I think, that goal. That was, counter attack.
It was messy light.
Ball over the top. Salah light. It was ball over the top. Nice control. Weaves one way, weaves the other way, and pokes it home. It was just a beautiful goal. And there was talk on the bench before that we needed to see more from Dylan Wenzel-Hall's, and like we weren't, no one was really talking about a goal drought from him because he's still so young. But those expectations are going to come, and they're going to come soon. So I think preemptively he's taken a bit of pressure off with that one, and hopefully it's a bit of a confidence builder for him.
Yeah, 100%. I think the timing was somewhat fortuitous too, because I think no more than about 5 minutes prior to that, he slammed a ball just wide when really you'd think, he should be scoring there, and it was probably an easier chance than the one that he actually scored. And so luckily for him, people aren't going to be talking about the one that he missed. Well, people other than me are going to be talking about the one that he missed. They're just going to be talking about this absolute screamer of a goal, which I mean, there are more. There were probably 3-4 candidates for goal around this round, but this one got it for me because it wasn't just sort of maybe a bit of a speculative strike from outside of the box. There was a little bit more to it, even if some of the defending was maybe questionable. But mate, look, fantastic result for the Raw, as I said. Who do you think deserves the credit for, I guess, the reaction in the second half? Do you think that goes to Moon, or do you think the players just deserve the credit for, I guess, just sort of pulling their fingers out, maybe, or what's your take on it?
No, I think a lot of credit has to go to Warren Moon for this. He saw what was going wrong at halftime, and he changed it very soon after halftime. I think what he was probably looking to do in the first half was sort of keep the likes of Champness and Dylan Wenzel-Hall's to use on the counter attack, and then you also had Riku Danzaki in there and Scotty Mack as well. So you've got 4 attacking players when Victory were just throwing the kitchen sink at us in the first half. But very soon after halftime, he took Joe Champness off and brought on Jesse Daly, and the Raw just needed a little bit something extra and something a bit different in midfield, and that's exactly what Jesse Daly gave when he came on. And to be honest, that substitution changed the game. He was able to break up the play a lot more, and just gave the Raw something different that they didn't have in midfield, and that's when you saw the game really change, and the Raw had a lot more chances. So a lot of credit has to go to Moon for that.
Few more Champness? No, almost. Man, that win takes the Raw up to third place overall come the end of the round. They've obviously won one and lost one. How are you feeling now about the Raw's chances or their start to the season now that you've actually seen them play?
I'd like to see a few more games first. I mean, I did pick us to make finals in our A-League season preview, but I think I picked the Raw to come in sort of 5th or 6th or something like that. They were a good matchup for Victory in this game because they did ride their luck, and then when Victory were throwing everything at us, we were able to counter-attack well. So, that was a good matchup, but I'd be curious to see how they go against the other teams because that style might not match up so well against the rest of the league.
Yeah, mate, it's going to make for plenty more interesting football. And if we're talking about early season predictions, I just want to throw it out there that I said Victory would finish last, and so if we can just stop the count now, because Victory are last. So thank you, ladies and gents, for coming.
Love to see it.
Oh dear. All right. We move on to Sunday's games now. First up, MacArthur hosted their first home match. So they had Central Coast coming from the other side of Sydney, essentially, hosting their first home game with starting with obviously the debut of the cowbells, and also there was a Indigenous smoking ceremony and welcome to country, which I thought was a good touch for a club that has really made probably the most effort of any A-League team to put down roots and to strengthen ties, I guess, with the Indigenous community as well. Good goal from the oldest A-League player, Danny De Silva, in the first half. While Central Coast
2.0.
It is a bit that way, isn't it? This is like the young old derby with Tommie Orr and Danny De Silva both playing.
Yeah, well then you've got then you had Stajic against Milicic as well. The replacement
ex Matilda's coach. Yeah.
Ex Matilda's coach, Derby.
And look, there were quite a few really, really short players in this one too. Like you had Danny De Silva was obviously pretty short, but I think he's Josh Nisbet. He's got to be. I think so. There was a little bit of height chat floating around on social media about this. And Josh Nisbet is Daniel Podence in the Premier League. Like he's 5'5", and then I can't remember who. I picked out another player who I remembered was really short, who's 5'4", and then Josh Nisbet is 5'3". Like that's really fucking short.
Immobile.
Yeah, not sure to explain it.
Immobile is quite short as well, isn't he? In Serie A.
Who is he?
Yeah, I thought he was quite short. Or maybe I might be thinking of another Italian forward. Sorry.
Oh, maybe. Hold on. I'm Googling now very quickly how tall Mobile is. Nah, he's tall. He's like 6 foot, so it's definitely not him. Maybe you're just thinking.
Listeners, get at us. Get at us.
Yeah. Get into the DMs, ladies and gents. Look, good goal for Danny De Silva, scored from about 8 yards from a Josh Nisbet cross. And at that point, you're probably thinking, okay, well, MacArthur was still in the game and they pressed really hard for an equaliser, but just wasn't their day. Central Coast were able to finalise the win though with Bowman crossing for Jordan Smiley, great name, to finish the game off and clinch the 2-0 victory for Central Coast. Back-to-back wins for Central Coast now. First time they've done that in, I'm led to believe, 14 years to open the season with back-to-back wins. How important is that for Central Coast?
Unbelievably important, and I'm so curious to know what this does to the team now, and whether they can galvanize and go on a bit of a run now that they've got this little bit of confidence, and like clubs that are just can't stop the losses and can't stop at things like that, and they just get into this terrible mentality, just need a circuit breaker like this, and hoping that this can be a bit of a circuit breaker for the Mariners and restore a bit of the belief, at least in the team.
Yeah, and you mentioned about a bit of a run. It's moments like this where you're hoping that just like the matches just come thick and fast, right? But so their next game isn't until the 19th when they play Western Sydney, which is a bit disappointing, I guess, for the Mariners. They would have liked maybe even a midweek game so that they could sort of keep those good vibes rolling. And so they play Western Sydney on the 19th of January, and then 3 days later they play Sydney. So the wheels could be coming off in late January, but I guess we'll wait and see. And look, I want the Mariners to be a success. It doesn't help anyone in the league if one particular or multiple clubs are really struggling for year after year, because obviously then they struggle to attract players, and if you have one club that's just struggling, it just affects the whole league, I think. So fingers crossed that they're able to get a good result and put into a good performance against the Wanderers next week. But MacArthur, sorry, mate.
Oh no! It's just while we're on the Mariners, I was just going to say they played really well in this game. I thought, but I thought they were. I don't know whether you call it fortunate. Probably not fortunate because MacArthur didn't change anything. But that matchup of Nisbet on Golek on the right flank gave the Mariners so much joy. Nisbet had a great game, and Golek was just not able to get anywhere near him. And
Just MPL quality.
everything just came down that right flank, and they were looking really good. And the other thing I wanted to say is, how triggered are you that Jack Clisby is wearing the 11 at left back?
Oh no, I hate that. It's rule. Who's it was a wonderful left foot plays for Newcastle. What's his name? Matt Ritchie. I think he does the same thing. I think he wears number 11, and Charlie Daniels as well at Bournemouth. He was wearing 11 at left back too. Yeah, no, I don't like it. But there's also, I don't think, any other position where you could maybe, well, where it's maybe been replicated. Like, you don't see a lot of right backs wearing 7.
Except Franjic in this game.
Yeah, okay. Way to prove me wrong. Thanks for that. But yeah, so look, and maybe it wasn't the best, not necessarily the best performance by MacArthur. They didn't create heaps of chances either. And so I guess after a good result the previous week, still showed that they've still got some ways to go in order to make finals, I guess, by the end of the season. But look, if there was one thing that no one could ignore out of this game, it was the cowbells. Colby, give us your take on the cowbells. You like them or you hate them?
I thought they were very gimmicky before the start of the season. When they announced them, I thought, oh yeah, no, that's not going to catch on. But hearing them at the game, I sort of liked it. And what made me like it even more was the visceral reaction that everybody had to it. I was all about the cowbells. So
no one is on the fence about the cowbells, are they? You either love them or you hate them.
Absolutely.
Mate, I'm a huge fan of them. I think I like that fans opposition fans in particular really hate them. You just know that whenever MacArthur get up at home, they're going to be ringing the cowbells, and it's going to drive you absolutely bonkers if you're an away supporter that makes the away trip there. And like that's not necessarily a bad thing if away fans hate it. Like, guys, lean into that, like embrace that. And I think I did even see someone in one of the like MacArthur fans online saying, yeah, cool, like by all means, like embrace that, and it might sort of help to build sort of a bit of a siege mentality around the club if everyone hates them because of the cowbells. Awesome.
If anything's going to make them stick, it's that.
Yep. Interesting enough, you remember, I think it was about a year ago, we were talking about how they, this was when they first announced their team colours, I think it was. They said that they were going to produce like a one-off sort of foundation members jersey, and it was only available if you signed up like 12 months ago for a membership. Subsequently, they've since handed them out to all of the foundation members, but because I don't think they got enough foundation memberships, they've got heaps left over, and I've heard that they're now flogging off those foundation jerseys at the grounds, and predictably fans are not impressed because you only got one of them if you're a foundation member. So little things like that do annoy the fans, and I mean, I'm for one, I'm like, well, they're still a business. They've got to flog off excess stock, and you can't just throw it out, right? But at the same time as well, I can understand the fans' perspective as well of, hey, well, I paid for that. Like, how come now any sort of regular Joe can just walk past the stadium and get one? But yeah.
Clubs in the A-League have been doing this with memberships for the past couple of seasons as well. I think the Woo did it last season, didn't they? Where they had where they like got all the members sign up, and then like a week or two before the season they did this like deep discount, and everyone was blowing up, and I'm sure other clubs have done it as well, that the listeners could fill us in on. But it seems to be something that needs to happen in the A-League for whatever reason. So
just more A-League areas, right? All right, just to wrap things up, one final match, which was involved Melbourne City travelling to the South Australian capital shithole, Adelaide, in a rematch of last year's FFA Cup final. Similar results for City, as Scott Jamieson was sent off, and the match just sailed away from City, with the match finishing 2-0 to Adelaide. Matt Olsen asks, can Juric get in the goals in front of an inexperienced Adelaide side? And if so, could he be back in Socceroos contention?
Oof. I mean, firstly, could he get goals in front of an inexperienced Adelaide side? Yes, because who else is going to get them? I mean, Halloran maybe, but
Maybe Stefan Moore?
There might be few and far between the Mork goals, but yeah, I mean, if anyone's going to, he's in the team to get the goals. He's in there to be the number 9 and to put away the chances. Maybe the Toures, but they're sort of more like your goals from the wingers, the Toures and your Hallorans. So Juric can get goals. He's a quality player, especially for this league, and he should get goals with a bit of those guys around him. But will he get back into the Socceroos? I mean, Taggart and Macca are in good form, but I suppose Juric does provide something different, and that's what Ange always liked about him. We don't have any other strikers in the Socceroos setup that are in the mould of Juric. Maybe if we got Lyndon Dykes instead of him going to Scotland, he might have filled that role. But
too soon, mate.
But Juric has that on his side in terms of getting back into the frame for Socceroos contention. He's very good in the air. He's a big physical striker who can play with his back to goal. As opposed to your sort of Maccas and Taggarts who, while they're trying to build other parts of their game, they're very much an on-the-shoulder kind of set of strikers, those two.
Yeah, and I guess a player that can bring in other players around him, I think that's something that's going to be really valuable in helping those younger players that Adelaide grow and also get good output too in terms of assists and goals themselves. So I don't know. Like we saw Tommie Juric get a goal this week for Adelaide. So and it wasn't sort of your typical sort of poacher's finish or anything like that. It was off a well worked set piece. So I don't know. We'll wait and see. I mean, I personally didn't think that this would turn out to be a great signing, but I mean, so far so good for Tommie Juric. Mate, someone who I mentioned just earlier, Stefan Moore, he got the second goal for Adelaide, which pretty much secured the 3 points for them. Stefan Moor's a player that probably both you and I have seen a little bit at when he was at the Raw most recently, but before that he was at Melbourne City, I'm pretty sure as well. And I mean, I've got to be honest, I didn't really rate him at City. I thought he just ran around like a chicken with his head cut off and didn't particularly offer a lot of guile or creativity. He just ran a lot. What did you think about Stefan Moore during his time at the Raw?
I rated him at the Raw. I was actually a little bit sorry to see him go. I thought I sort of interpreted his running around as a bit of dynamism in the midfield, and he definitely gave a bit of steel to that Raw midfield, which it didn't have, and which hopefully they can get through now. Jesse Daly, but the jury's still out on him. He'll have to prove himself at A-League level over a longer period of time. But Stefan Moore, I think I like the way he plays. He seems to me to be like a bit of an out-and-out number 8. Like he can get into the box and score the odd goal every now and again.
He's got a big engine, right?
He's got a big engine. He'll get back and defend. So I like that about him.
Yeah, he strikes me as the kind of player that hasn't maybe quite found the right club for him yet, or the right system. And he's not one of those sort of system players where you need everything to be based around him. But you sense that he needs his niche and some of the right ingredients around him for him to really prosper, and I guess for him to be in a winning team as well would help too. So. Maybe we'll see a little bit more of Stefan Moore and he'll have some success this season. One thing before we wrap up though, and I mentioned it very briefly at the top about this red card for Scott Jamieson, 2 yellow cards. How dumb was this? Did you see this?
Oh, I didn't actually see the incident that he got sent off for, but I mean, when I see Jamo 2 yellow cards, I'm never surprised in the slightest. Like this happens multiple times a season.
So the second yellow card was just the most cast iron yellow card you've ever seen, and I can't remember which one of the Adelaide wingers it was that was coming down the right hand side that pretty much just sort of burst past him, knocked the ball past him, and he just sort of took out his legs, and he pretty much ripped off the captain's armband immediately and just started walking because he knew that he was getting sent, and was like, well, "What'd you do that for?" Like, surely there had to be another way of dealing with that situation, but apparently not. Jamo going to Jamo, I guess.
I always
Um,
think it's weird when teams like have their hothead as their captain.
yeah.
Like in any other sport, the captaincy sort of like calms you down, but in football, it doesn't seem to work that way. Like you have your hothead, and he just stays a hothead.
Not so clever, is it?
No.
But look, mate, I think that pretty much wraps things up for A League. But if there's one thing I do want to mention before we wrap things up in general, it's about A League survivor tipping. So, Colby, you did quite well in week one. You made it through. You were one of the, what was it, 13 people that made it through the first round. So we had 22 people that dropped out after an unsuccessful first round tip. Three of those 13 didn't make a tip in round two, so we lost a few straight off the cuff as it was, and then there were another 6 who got it wrong straight away. So we still at the moment only got HSN who's sticking around, and then there's 3 who picked either Newcastle or Western Sydney. So yeah, we could already have a winner after 2 rounds if there's a draw in the Newcastle Western Sydney game. So.
I reckon we'll get through quite a few of these. I picked the Mac Bulls only because I couldn't tip the Mariners twice, given the nature of A League Survivor. You can't tip the same team twice. So, I mean, I was hamstrung by the Mariners.
Fortunately, I didn't make that an explicit rule, but everyone seemed to abide by that anyway, which was handy. I'm glad I didn't have to have that conversation with people. Alrighty, I think that's been a lot of fun. If nothing else other than for me, who's seen all of the successful and failed tips, but I think, like you say, Colby, I think we'll do that a couple more times throughout the season. Maybe not necessarily back to back throughout the season. Otherwise, people will get sick of being into the third comp by the 5th round. But
well, you got to let the winner give the winner a couple of weeks to celebrate their win, hold the title, and we go again.
Exactly. So we should have an update for everyone come Friday afternoon or Friday evening Australian time. So looking forward to that. But that pretty much wraps things up for A League. Thanks for joining us, Colby, and stepping into the breach at the last minute. And thanks for listening, everyone else.